Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the video. It's another paid request, this time for Fadi. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. This is for Men in Black 3. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. It'll be for pretty much any type of video. Now, Men in Black 3, I remember when it came out and being pretty skeptical, because the last Men in Black film I wasn't big on. I mean, like I said, at best it's a time waster, but I thought it was a big step down from the first movie. And then it's been 10 years since the sequel. The sequel was, what, 2002? This came out 2012. So I'm like, okay, alright, whatever. You know, they're really dragging this along. Barry Sonnenfeld comes back to direct. And really, Barry's career after Men in Black 2 wasn't much. Like, you look at from Men in Black 2 to Men in Black 3, he didn't do a whole lot. At least anything that was even mildly successful. And even now, like, Barry Sonnenfeld's a director you don't really hear about working nowadays. So I don't know what happened, what the... I mean, this guy, Addams Family, Men in Black 1, but yeah, after Wild Wild West, as OT did Men in Black 2, and I didn't know this. Apparently, in the making of Men in Black 2, him and Will Smith didn't get along or something. So there's actually talks of getting another director involved, and Barry pretty much had to pitch himself to get the directing gig for the third one. I mean, I don't know what the full details on that. I would love to know as to what exactly happened. So if he didn't get along with Will Smith in Men in Black 2, I wonder if that kind of maybe hurt his career in a political state. At least I don't know all the facts, but when this came out and I saw it, I'm like, wow, this was a nice surprise. And watch it again, it still held up. Men in Black 3 is a nice surprise of a sequel. Just felt like, while Men in Black 2, it felt shorter because certain stuff like a good chunk of the ending had to be cut. The first half felt like it was just kind of reestablishing to get back to the ending of the first movie. Here, it felt like a story that had a better flow to it. I definitely felt there was a bit more heart to the film compared to the second movie. All the aspects of taking place in 1969 and the retro aspects felt fresh and intriguing. Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones did their jobs well. Josh Brolin knocked out of the park. He did a fairly spot-on piece of work as the younger Tommy Lee Jones. He definitely stole the show for me. And the movie was an easy watch. No matter how you feel about Will Smith nowadays because of the slap, he does have charisma. I still think he's a good actor. He's a good movie star. I still like films like the Bad Boys movies and Independence Day, and what he did was wrong, and the crowd should not have clapped for it, and Chris Rock clowned him for good reason. You'll never see this, but just get the hell away from Jada Pinkett. She's toxic. If you get away from her and realize the truth of the situation that we all see, I think you'd be in better spirits. Just my opinion. But he won't do that. He's in love with the girl. Whatever. With that said, I didn't mind the bad guy, Boris. I didn't mind his look. I didn't mind the actor. Kind of like the idea that he's got this creature that could go into his hand and shoot these projectiles. Fairly violent. You know, people getting shot in the head. They're stuck to the wall like a pincushion. Putting time travel into this, I didn't mind because of the results. It's establishing the fact that Will and Tommy Lee Jones, they've been partners for so many years, and Tommy Lee, his emotions are shut down. Which, granted, I mean, you say that was the case in the first Men in Black, but I guess it's now getting to Will Smith at this point and going, what happened to you? And this kind of culminates in Sally, the actor that played Zed. He had passed away in real life by this point, rip torn. So the character itself is dead, and when Tommy Lee Jones is giving the eulogy, he says very few words, and Will Smith's like kind of taken aback by it. He's like, well, I hope when I die you just say at least a few more nicer things. Granted, there's some retroactive stuff when you get to the end where we believe in the first film Tommy Lee Jones got Will Smith because of, hey, this kid's good and look what he's able to do. But now we're supposed to think that there's a bit more to that because of certain events. Which, I mean, compared to other movies, I guess is not too bad, not too shabby. But I mean, it was nice to be welcomed back into this Men in Black world again. And it was nice to see a bit of reinvigoration of creativity, which I didn't feel as much in the second film. But in this one, I felt a bit of that splurge or creativity like it did in the first. I like the restaurant they go into where they're talking to Mr. Wu. He's giving this fake accent. Even Will Smith dropped the bullshit accent. Oh, come on, guys, you're breaking my balls here. The different types of aliens, things once again the Rick Baker, so like the fish stuff. Some pretty good practical effects. You have this look like a piece of mucus with a face on it. You have this spiked, kind of look cute, this spiked little fish thing, look like a baby. But like I don't know what kind of, I don't know the best way to describe it, like Tommy Jones is looking at it. You get a pretty decent action sequence when Will and Tommy Lee Jones have to fight these people in a restaurant, and you get some bits of slow-mo, and they're blowing up aliens, and Will Smith gets out of the way. Like, it's fairly efficiently directed action sequence. And one thing leads to another, you find out Boris escaped at the beginning from the moon, and Tommy Lee Jones doesn't want Will Smith a part of it. Will Smith doesn't like that he's being pushed out. Tommy Lee Jones is ready, he's gun-ho, but then he disappears. No one remembers Tommy Lee Jones existed except for Will. And then find out by the new boss, Emma Thompson, that there's a temporal shift. Tommy Lee Jones has been killed in the past. He had this thing with an arc shield that protected Earth. Now there's an invasion. So Will has to go get this device, go back through time to 1969 and save the young Tommy Lee Jones' character. Like I said, the movie went at a good pace. It wasn't boring. Like I said, it was a nice set of creativity. It was nice to see Will Smith. Will Smith, kind of a more calmed down Will Smith in this movie. In fact, aside from a few times when he has to give the neuralizer and give a bit speech, sometimes those felt a bit forced, like he was trying to make it up as he goes along, but the rest of it is like good. There's still humor, there's still wisecracks, but it just felt like a bit more of a serious Will Smith, which made sense after being on the job for so long, the seriousness of the situation. It didn't feel too out of place. It felt like a natural progression of that character. It's sad that, let's face it, this is the last Men in Black film. They're not going to be doing any more. At least with these two. You had Men in Black International, which was awful, terrible, piece of shit. And my stomach even agreed there. Literally, my stomach growled, like, don't talk about that movie. Yeah, I know. I'm not going to talk about the fucking Men in Black International, because it fucking sucked. Ball sacks. And ass cracks. Lick the sweaty ass crack from mine. Fucking movie. So it's sad that this is the last time we're going to see Tommy Lee Jones as K, and he's just not in it that much. He's in it a little bit at the beginning, like 20 minutes or so, give or take, and then very much at the end. So again, This is the last movie. We don't get to see the two of them all the way through. It's a bit sad for that. I know there's talks of Men in Black 4, but then ultimately they became Men in Black International, which was a piece of shit. I like the way they set up 1969. I like the way the art design, the way that looked, and the way it made it look like back in the day with the clothing and the cars and everything between. You do, I mean, because of the time, you do deal a little bit of the racism bit, so cops stop him. What's a guy with fancy suit and but it made sense because eventually that would happen. If you completely ignored it, some people may raise their eyebrows on it, but it didn't feel woke or anything either. There's a bit of fun stuff. Oh yeah, I play for the Detroit Darkies. So he neuralizes them. You see me, you just assume I stole? Well, okay, I did. I did steal this car, but not because I'm black. So it's like they had to do it at least once and get out of the way to move along with the story. I just see that it was a bit of a fun scene as well, because I did the bit where you just assume I stole a car. Okay, well I did steal this car, but I thought that was pretty funny. Like I said, Josh Brolin stole the show. He did a really good job mimicking a young Tommy Lee Jones, his mannerisms, the way he spoke. I could see him being the young Tommy Lee Jones. And see this more lighthearted K, and even Will Smith throughout is like, "What happened to you?" I don't know. It hasn't happened yet. So as I see a little bit different aspect for the K character, a little bit more of a different personality, and then you find out later what did happen, why he did that, why that was the case. Now, it was also nice to see the retro aliens, the way they looked back in 1969. There's some fun set pieces, of, like when the two of them are messing with these aliens in a bowling alley, and they start bowling one alien's head, and he keep pissing him off. Kind of like when they blew up Tony Shalhoub's head in the first movie. They're trying to get him to talk. They added a few other gizmos because it's retro, so we got these MIB motorcycles, which makes you wonder why they don't have them in today's age. These type of motorcycles. Because they seem worthwhile to keep in today's age. But rather they have the car, granted, but and then you have the jetpacks. That was an interesting touch. Sadly, no action scenes involving the jetpacks. It's pretty much just to get from point A to point B. I don't really have a lot of issues with it. I mean, I was indifferent with the whole Andy Warhol scene where we find out Andy Warhol is actually one of the Men in Black agents undercover. And Will says, "I will pimp slap the shiznit out of Andy Warhol." I don't know, that whole bit. I was indifferent. It was funny that, him and Will are trying to fight with each other, and Will just takes the wig. And, how about that? Oh yeah, you're mature. That was a funny bit. But I was just indifferent. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. I was just more indifferent. Other than, again, that one bit was pretty funny. Boris the Animal, like I said, I thought he worked fine enough as a villain. Nothing's really going to top the Vincent D'Onofrio in the first Men in Black, but I would just say I probably enjoyed him a bit more than the character in the second film, the villain. I mean, maybe because of the whole projectile thing just felt more dangerous to me. Maybe the fact of I didn't mind like the look with the goggles and again the creature in his hand that shoot these projectiles. I like that idea. I like the aesthetic. It's nothing like 100% oh my god memorable, but it worked for the story. And then I'm not sure about the character where he's like a fifth dimensional being and he can see all these things. So it's like he sees an event, but he sees all the possibilities of the event. For a split second, for some reason, I thought it was Joaquin Phoenix when I first saw this, but it's not, of course. He was probably my least favorite thing in the movie because he kind of got on my nerves at times with, well, if it's this, but if it does this, but then if it does this, but if it does that, it just wasn't my favorite piece of business. And like he knows all these possibilities, but he doesn't know which one he's in. So it could be the point that he's going to shoot everybody right now. Oh wow, this is the part on the rocket ship that, or on the jetpack that we didn't blow up. What do you mean blow up? So I get the idea behind it, but that character, I don't know, just sometimes would get on my nerves, and I just never appealed to me as a character. Never did anything for me. I don't know. I just would have. He's pretty much there for them to protect from Boris the animal, and also get the device that will save the world from the invasion. I don't know. I don't know if it's the way the kid was written. I don't know if it's the way he acted the role. I just wasn't big on it. The action scenes are decent enough. You have like I said, the bit at the restaurant at the beginning. You have the bit with the motorcycles. Granted, a lot of CGI usage being put into it, but it was a fun enough scene. You also have the finale where they're at Cape Canaveral. This is 1969, getting ready to be launched to the moon. And there's there's a young Boris, and then there's the Boris from the future, and each one's fighting a version of Boris. Stuff happens, you get to the ending. Spoilers, if that wasn't clear by now. I thought the ending kind of surprising, and I thought it was heartfelt, and you kind of find out that you have this military guy who does help thanks to this creature, the fifth dimensional being, able to convince him, and they're able to succeed, but then the guy gets killed off, and Josh Brolin kills Boris the animal. Not this time. Not going to arrest him this time. And it goes on from there. So, with that being put into place, you find out that the military guy had a kid, and that kid is James, and that is Will Smith when he was a kid. And this is why Tommy Lee Jones' character is so shut down emotionally, because here's this kid whose father is dead, and he can't really explain to him what happened. He's got to neuralize the kid, and that this event, triggered such a deep reaction, understandably for Kay, that he was a bit shut down emotionally since then, because he had to do this. And that from then on, he watched over Will Smith's character. That kind of did help even more with the bond between the two. I thought Will Smith did a good job emotionally. Granted, for a while, there was a part of me going, well, wait a minute. Like, Will Smith was born in 1968, but this kid's, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. But at the same time, I don't think they ever state how old James is supposed to be. And, there's many movies where people play a 5-year difference. They're really 59, but they play a 64-year-old, or they're 65, but they play a 60-year-old. I mean, that's happened a lot. So like I said, just because Will Smith was born in 1968 does not mean that's when Agent J was born. So I just let that go. Because I think Will Smith was born in 68. I could be wrong. I believe so. But I thought it was pretty. Some people may say it's manipulative, but I thought it worked well on an emotional piece of the ending. I kind of wish that's how it ended, just with the two of them, Will Smith understanding, telling Tommy Jones understanding that somehow Will knows, and he's like, it's been an honor, it's been a privilege. They share a nice moment, they leave. I kind of wish it ended with that, but instead it cuts to the fifth dimensional guy. Oh, this is my new favorite moment, unless it's the version where he doesn't tip, and then the asteroid's going to collide with Earth, and then Tommy Jones does. It just kind of cuts the emotional bit, kind of cuts its legs off a little bit, because to end with this sweet, nice emotional moment between the two characters. Maybe they go off in the car. Maybe Will Smith puts on the radio to a piece of music that Tommy Lee Jones recognizes, and maybe Tommy Lee Jones smiles a little bit and they go off. But it's like they did that type of ending in the first two Men in Black, so they got to do it again. Because in the first Men in Black, they pulled back to show that there were a bunch of marbles. In the second film, they pulled back to see that there's just a big locker. They're a little locker in this big multitude of lockers. So they do something here again. I don't know, it's like, well, we have to do this instead of we need to do this. It's like you didn't really have to need to do it. I don't think the audience would have. Oh man, I don't think they would have missed that. Especially knowing now, this is the last time we're ever going to see these characters. This is the last time we're ever going to see these folks. This is the last Men in Black film with these two. I just think that would have been a more fitting final shot of the movie. Yeah, it's not a big deal, just a nitpick, but like I said, that character and the scenes involved with, other than the baseball scene, which was a nice visual motif, where Will Smith's seeing an empty baseball field, but then in the guy's presence, he's able to see the game. He walks out, there's nothing, but goes back in the bubble and sees it. And it's not like the guy was the worst ever in terms of acting. It's just, again, it's just the least interesting part to me of the story. That's just me, though. But with that said, I thought, like I said, this was a nice, refreshing sequel that, like I said, has some cool ideas. The whole 1969 motif, to really like the art design, set design, and effects be splurged in creative ways. It made it feel a bit refreshing, so it didn't feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. You add a little bit more to the friendship between Agents J and K. You learn a little bit more about the characters, but nothing that really destroys the previous films either, in terms of storyline or continuity. At least I didn't see it that way. And, a couple of good action scenes, a couple little moments that made me smirk and chuckle. Josh Brolin stole the show. Overall, an entertaining sequel. Like I said, it's sad that we don't get to see a lot of Tommy Lee Jones, since this is the last time we're going to see him in this character. Then the fifth dimensional guy, not big on. Same with the very final shot. I wish they had just, no matter how people may view it as too sentimental, I would have preferred that they stuck with that kind of nice, sweet ending and kept with that momentum. But it is what it is. With that said, fun sequel. And a nice, fairly big step up from the second film, in my opinion. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you guys later. Bye-bye.